listening to Over the Oxer podcast with Tracy Cole for all things to do with the mind for equestrians. Welcome to the second boot camp episode. And this is to help you get more confident, feel that you are able to do things, that you have lost your self-doubt, maybe a little bit motivated to get going before the season really starts. And so today I'm going to be talking about something called being at cause and being at effect, and how we can use that to propel ourselves towards a certain goal, ambition, aim, whatever you want to call it. So there's two extremes on a spectrum. The first one is called being at cause, and the opposite end is called being at effect. I'm going to deal with the people at effect first, because they're the ones that we need to work on if we are one of those. So we need to work on ourselves. We need to recognize where we are on this spectrum. So someone who is fully at effect blames others. So they constantly get swayed by their outside environment. Well, then they're fine. But it just takes one little thing to tip that balance, and then they start to feel bad. They feel negative emotions of some sort. They haven't got their own inbuilt resilience. And when things do go wrong, that's when they blame other people and other things. At the opposite end of the spectrum are the people at cause. And someone at this end believes that they are where they are now in life as a result of an accumulation of events and thoughts and ideas and beliefs and actions of their own making. So they're not blaming themselves in any way for where they are, but they're just saying, well, this is where I am. This is where I landed, in view of the decisions that I've made, the beliefs that I've got, the ideas, the motivation, and so on. And so they tend to take the bull by the horns and decide they want to do something and decide it's in their power, and they are less affected by the outside world. So I'm not saying they are toughened to the point where they are absolutely uncaring. They are simply able to show some resilience in the face of negative consequences and negative events. So they are less buoyed by other people and other events than someone who's at effect. And if you like to think of it, that these people have their inner world more sorted out, it's more stable, it's more durable, it's able to withstand more, and the outside world has less of an effect on them. Where the person at effect, their inner world isn't quite as stable. It's not quite as sorted out, and so the outside influence is much bigger. So we want to move ourselves, wherever we may be on that spectrum, towards the cause side of the equation. And one way of doing this is to take full responsibility. But how do we do that? And that brings me on to thinking about actions and habits. So habits are great. Habits are really good because they're automated actions that we don't really have to think too much about. And in that sense, they don't take up a lot of brain power and they reduce the workload of the brain. So if you think about something like driving or walking or doing anything that's very, very easy, making a cup of tea or something like that, you don't have to think excessively about each and every step. You can pretty much go onto autopilot. And in that way, your brain is resting so that you can use it for more cognitive actions, thinking and ruminating in a positive way, of course. So habits are good for us. And we can create a habit out of consistently taking small actions. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, very often it's the small actions that we don't take that really do impact us more. So I'm thinking now of small, even tiny, consistent action that take us to where we want to be. If we don't take it, or we're inconsistent, that sends a very clear message to our unconscious mind that we're not really committed and it's not a high priority. And so the mind diverts energy away from that into something else. And because we haven't prioritized it, we haven't flagged it up as a priority, then whatever that is, whether it's a daily aim or a goal or a target, we're not going to be putting much energy into it and we're not going to see it flourish. So taking those small, consistent actions becomes a habit if we do them daily or we do them very frequently. How then do we set up the habit? How do we make it important? We connect it to our why. Why do you want to do this? And when you think about your why, think about what do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Or what sound? Or, it might not be a voice. It could be rhythmical footfall. It could be praise. It could be something else. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? And what do you want to feel? What do you want to feel physically? Maybe that connection with your horse, so you can really feel their movement. You really can preempt anything that they may be doing, like reducing their impulsion, or they're coming back into a walk when you wanted them to trot. It can also be the feelings in terms of emotions. What do you want to feel inside? What emotion do you want to take on? So when you connect with your why, think of it in seeing, hearing, and feeling terms as well. Once you connect with your why, then we're talking about small, consistent actions. Now, sometimes those small, consistent actions, we're stopped in doing them. And I'm going to talk in my next session, my next boot camp, all about resilience and self-trust. But for the moment, we're thinking about setting up a habit. And depending on what you want to achieve, this habit is going to be small and it will be very personal to you and what you can achieve on a daily or nearly daily basis. And it might be that when we start off, it's a bit messy, it's a bit imperfect, but I want you to think about this as a quiet power that's building for you in the background. So my challenge for you this week is to think about what you want. It can be a big goal. It can be a small goal. It can be a goal for the week or month or maybe 6 months. But I want you to think about what you can do today. What can you do today that leans you towards your goal a little bit? Maybe it's an action that only takes 10 minutes. Maybe it's only a 10-minute ride. It really doesn't matter, but it's the consistency. And then repeating it on a very regular basis. And maybe expanding so that 10-minute ride becomes 11 minutes over the course of a few days. And it's that gets your mind engaged. Your mind realizes that you're doing this time after time. Your mind realizes that this has become a priority because you're linked into your why and you've given it very clear instructions. The mind isn't great at listening in to a conversation that you're having with it. It would be far better, as we said before, in pictures, sounds, and feelings. And then you're really on the wavelength of your unconscious mind. So what is it that you can do today, and you can complete it by the end of the day, that gets you going? And what can you do on a regular basis 5 times a week, maybe 6 times a week? What can you do that's small enough that it creeps under that radar of when you think, oh, this is a chore, I haven't got time. Just gets under that radar. So you're thinking, well, it's only 10 minutes. And if you're devil on your shoulder, or your chimp, or your gremlin, or whatever you want to call it, your self-talk starts saying, yeah, well, what difference can 10 minutes make? Remember, it's those small actions that we don't take that impact us negatively the very most. Take care, and I will see you next week for resilience and self-trust building.